So basically, the origins of the contamination layer is due to lake filling, actually, construction of the dock wall and pier, and also historical reuse in boat operations. So based upon our environmental investigation, we've identified that the current uses actually don't impose any sort of adverse human health impacts. But should the site get redeveloped, we need to consider some of the Ministry of Environment standards of the day. But based on our sort of analysis of past investigations, no contaminants within the groundwater is actually apparent, which is good. So I'm just going to show you a diagram, an aerial diagram of the site. So you'll have to focus on the side screens here, and you'll have to bear with me if I can. You see my little mouse here? So these little boreholes are sort of a combination of all the investigations that we covered in terms of the site. And then this squiggly little line here is basically a strategic feed line. So this next drawing will show you the site geology, basically. And so this dark layer here, you can see that? That's the origins of the lake model, basically, that shows shale conditions. And then this little blue layer here is the clay layer. So you appreciate in prehistoric times, there would be sort of this glacial lake that sort of occupied this area. And then there's sort of a series of lenses. There's sand lenses and peat lenses. And then this orange layer on top, if you see that top layer, that's basically the fill layer that sort of occupies the site. And then on top of that is basically a nice asphalt parking lot. So here's the blue line. Essentially is the water table. It's about 1.5 meters below the surface. And so currently the site basically is primarily impacted by the fill layer that sort of is about 30 centimeters to about 9 meters in terms of depth. So it's a variation of the fill layer here. You see that line just goes up and down depending on the sort of geology of the site. So now I'm just going to show you very briefly the environmental approvals process of a typical redevelopment process that a site like this would go through. Normally, one would have to go through the Ministry of Environment approvals process in order to change its land use. And so you do a phase 1, phase 2, and then get a thing called a record of site condition. And that's typical of sort of the approvals process that a municipality would ask for with regard to sort of planning approvals. So this is something just to bear in mind. We can talk about this later in the discussion forum. So once we sort of figure out a redevelopment strategy, and that's what we're here tonight, we'll be able to sort of really bring the environmental management strategies forward and understand sort of how we can sort of deal with these sort of historic contaminants, either through building restrictions on physical structures or essentially engineered parks where we sort of develop hard and soft landscapes. So that's basically my presentation